Dum 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 da 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 dum. 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 Let's get pressure pushing down on me, pressing down on you. No minus four.
Under pressure that burns the building down, splits the family in two, puts people on streets.
Puts a terror knowing what this world is about. Watch yourself, good friend, screaming.
All rise for the Honorable Judge Arnold. On this day, October 28, 1895, we're gathered to witness the trial of Herman Webster Mudgett, better known as his alias Henry H. Holmes. Representing Holmes will be John Harris. Representing the state of Illinois will be District Attorney George Graham. Bailiff, please bring in the suspect. Gentlemen,
Our opening statement is that Holmes is a sick and masochistic man who should be charged with the murders of Benjamin Peaceville and his 3 children. He should be found guilty by the state.
thank you, Mr. Graham. Mr. Harris, do you have any words you wish to say on your client's behalf before we get started?
Well, with all things considered,
Excuse me, Mr. Harris. If you don't mind, Your Honor, I'd like to ask something.
Go on.
With all due respect, Mr. Harris, I'd like to ask permission to represent myself.
It is your constitutional right to try your own case. Plaintiff, you may now proceed.
thank you, Judge Arnold. Now, we begin our case with the whereabouts of Benjamin Peaceville. In order to do so, we need to call forth Frank Geyer to the stand. Mr. Geyer, can you please tell us what you found out in the summer of 1895?
Well, I started my investigation in the summer of 1895 after Holmes had been arrested for the fake death of Mr. Peitzel. Since the children had been missing, I focused my entire investigation on that. And the first city that I went to was Philadelphia, and I went to other cities such as Indianapolis and Detroit. I finally decided to go to Toronto, where we looked at many real estate agencies, and we found that Holmes had rented a house for about 2 days. We searched the house, and in the basement we found, under about 3 feet of moist soil, the bodies of Alice and Nellie Peitzel. And after that, we talked to the next door neighbor and discovered that he had seen Holmes hauling in and out a large black trunk, and that he had borrowed a shovel from the next door neighbor and returned it promptly the next day. This is enough evidence for anyone to realize that Holmes was the murderer of the Peitzel girls.
Now, Mr. Geyer, you found a piece of Alice Peaceville's hair and the trunk in which the 2 girls were killed in. That is all, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Graham. Holmes, do you have anything you wish to say?
Now, this is distillation of the truth. All 3 of the Peaceville children were killed by many limbs in her boyfriend Hatch. She had a strong hatred for me from the demise of our relationships in the past, and she knew I was in Toronto, so she tried to blackmail me.
Thank you, Holmes. Mr. Graham?
Your Honor. Now, tell us about your travels to Indianapolis, where you found the body of Howard Peaceville.
Well, after finding the bodies in Toronto, we decided to go back to Indianapolis because that's where Alice and Nellie's letters stopped mentioning Howard. We traveled around, although we had already been there, we checked every single place that we could, and we found one real estate agency in Irvington, which was a part of town that we hadn't already searched. We found a house that Holmes had rented, and after talking to the next door neighbor and confirming that Holmes was in that house, we found the body of Howard in the chimney of the house.
Thank you, Mr. Geyer.
Holmes?
The same thing happened with Howard that happened with Alice and Nellie in Toronto. Minnie Williams knew that I was resided in the house there for a few days, and she killed them and tried to blackmail me.
Thank you, Holmes. Mr. Geyer, you're free to leave. Mr. Graham, you can continue.
Ms. Pottsville, thank you for coming in. Now, please tell us how Holmes managed to convince you to let him take your children.
Well, I had utmost confidence and trust in Holmes. He told me that he was going to take the children to see their father because he was in hiding, and I believed him. And I had no idea that he would ever do such a thing.
Okay, thank you. Now, I know this must be hard for you, but did you ever see your children after this?
Yes. I saw them side by side when I had to identify their bodies at the morgue.
Ms. Pottsville, in my hand, I have a letter from your two kids, Allison and Doug. Can you please confirm that this is their handwriting?
Yes. But I've never seen this before.
Holmes, do you have anything you wish to say?
I don't feel the need to explain myself.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Graham, do you have anything left?
I have no more evidence left, Your Honor.
Ms. Carey, you're dismissed. Holmes, before we take our recess for the jury to decide, is there anything you'd like to say?
Minnie Williams killed the peaceful children in spite of me. That is all I have to say.
Thank you. We will now be taking a recess to allow the jury to make their decision.
During this commercial break, you will be learning of the new product, Juicy Fruit, which was developed at the World's Columbian Exposition.
Dirty mouth? Clean it up with Juicy Fruit. For a good clean feeling, no matter what. Order! Order in the court. This court is now in session. Jury, have you reached your decision?
We find the defendant guilty of 4 counts of first-degree murder.
What? This is an outrage. I did no such thing.
Order! Order!
I'd like my attorney to speak on my behalf.
I see no reason for such a thing, but go ahead.
So I would like to postpone this trial to another date.
I'm sorry, we cannot do so. The verdict has been made, and Holmes is found guilty of 4 counts of first-degree murder. Mr. Holmes, for this, you shall be sentenced to death by hanging. Court is now adjourned.
I came to dance, 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 dance.
I'm an actor. The same thing happened with how it happened with Nellie and Allison. I forgot what I was supposed to say.
And just say,
Ready?
thank you. Shut Thank you. Thank you.
Whenever you're ready.
We find the defendant guilty.
Whenever you're ready.
We find the defendant guilty of 4 counts of first-degree murder.
Try it one more time. One more time. Lindsay laughed like right at the end of it.
With all due respect, this is not Holmes. So, Lisa, I heard you got that girl pregnant. Your second death.